Welcome to another edition of One More Light with me, Val Kleinhans. Karissa from Self Care with Karissa is here today. She is on a self growth journey, honey. She is on a healing journey, all the things. And I know she's got some tips for your own journeys as well when it comes to mental health. It kind of all ties together. So I figured, why not have her share some? And I'm so glad that she's here today. Karissa, thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
I know. I'm glad we made it. I'm glad we're here. How did your Instagram journey begin? I guess the beginning is as good a place as any to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Gosh, I've had Instagram for a really, really long time. I initially started by doing makeup tutorials and I
Oh,
got my first 10,000 followers from that, ironically, which is like not anything that I do anymore. But yeah, once I started to do that, I um actually what happened is I had pink hair. I had hot pink hair and
nice.
I had gotten a new job. Yeah, it was really fun. And I had gotten a new job where I wasn't able to have that pink hair anymore. And one of
I hate when
my
that happens.
yeah, it was really rude. But one of my friends told me she could do me a solid and turn my hair back. And what happened was basically she fried everything and I had to get like a buzz cut. It was so
No.
bad. Yeah, it was the most crazy experience I have gone through. But what it really taught me was how much I kind of hid behind my makeup and I kind of hid behind my hair and my image. And I really started to notice how much self love I really didn't have. And so I went on this journey of going to the gym and just trying to find other ways to mentally stimulate me other than makeup, because that was the only thing I ever knew how to do.
Mm.
And yeah, I ended up falling in love with going to the gym and just like this journey of finding what makes me happy. And I kind of switched my content from there. And throughout the years, it's kind of just built up.
Yeah. Well, how did the content switch go initially with your followers? Did they notice? Did they care?
Oh, it was honestly, I don't think they cared.
Mm.
Even though it was 10,000, it was like 10,000 followers, but I had already had like 5,000 from when I was a child and like in high school kind of thing, because I had that
Oh,
same
okay.
Instagram. Yeah, so it was like I didn't gain 10,000 just from the makeup. So it's like I didn't really have a strong community anyway. I was just doing it for fun. And then once
Okay.
I started to be more authentic and kind of show a more like vulnerable side to me, I guess, I noticed that my followers kind of went up from there.
Yeah. So it was the experience with this whole traumatic change with your hair and the realization that, like, man, I'm way too attached to this, that maybe inspired you to say, I want to focus my content in a different direction. I would rather talk healing, self care, self love, and travel as a learning experience. I mean, you do that too. I know you're a big proponent of
Yeah.
that. So, was there anything else that was going on that might have spurred this, or was that really it?
I think that was really what kick started it. And then once I realized that that was one aspect of my life that I needed healing, it was like everything else kind of just poured out. And
Mm.
the more I noticed that the more authentic that I would be, and the more that I would talk about subjects that are a little bit uncomfortable, the more that people would resonate with it and people would feel like
Yes.
they could relate. And it made me feel really good, like I was helping somebody. So I just kept doing my thing and doing that. And even now, like just continuing to be authentic, it's like the followers come slower, but it's so much more of a community.
Yeah, totally. Why do you think we have such a problem finding ourselves? Because you're not alone in that at all.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I don't know. I think a lot of it has to do with maybe the environments that we grew up in and also the
Mm.
people that we surround ourselves with. I think society's standards and just like people on the outside and our environment telling us who we should be, or society trying to tell us who we should be. I mean, it's really easy for me to even still now. I will like know exactly what I want. I'll know exactly what my goal is, but then I'll scroll on Instagram for a little bit and then I'll come off and be like, is that really my goal? Like maybe I should do this or maybe I should do that. So it's so easy to be swayed, especially with social media, I'm sure. And I struggled with that as a child, even before social media was even like a huge thing. So I can't
Right.
imagine like how it is now.
Yeah. Well, what do you think it took to find yourself? How did you find yourself?
I I honestly don't feel like I've completely found myself yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. But honestly, when I do travel, I feel like I find myself more and more. I just went on a month trip to Thailand, and that's the longest trip that I've had. And it was very life changing for me. I really, truly feel like you find yourself in places that make you feel uncomfortable, in places that, you know, it's not your norm. It's you're just out of the box the whole time. It was just a lot of anxiety, but a lot of great anxiety, and it pushed me to kind of like force myself into finding who it is that I wanted to be, because I didn't have anyone or any external
Yeah.
sources trying to tell me where to go or, you know, what to do.
We're quick to do that in the US. And I really think that it's
Oh yeah.
because we're so used to this like capitalist mentality of everything's got to have a
Yeah.
label because we got to sell it. And so we have to be
Yes.
able to like identify it really quickly. When you spent all that time in Thailand, the pictures are fire, by the way. Love the reels in that one hotel
Oh,
room too. With
thank you.
the canopy bed, I was like, oh, I loved it. But my perception is, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the one that spent time there. Uh, are they a little bit more like laid back, relaxed? Are they more concerned about how they feel on the inside versus what they're presenting on the outside? What's Thai culture like?
Oh my gosh. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's exactly that. They are just very chill. There's not a lot of judgment. Like you don't see people with a bunch of makeup just walking around. And even if you do, like they don't bat an eye. I saw people with tattoos, like bald head tattoos from head to toe. You don't bat an
Mm,
eye. There's no judgment there. It's like everyone is kind of just worried about themselves because they study Thai Buddhism, and Buddhism is known, as they tried to explain it to us, as more of a quotation mark like selfish religion,
mm,
because you're
mhm.
more so focused on yourself, and they believe that if you pour into yourself, then you'll be able to pour into other people. And so with them being that way, I think that has such a big impact on how they function as a whole. It was beautiful. It was really nice to go there and just feel like I could be who I wanted to be, and I didn't feel judged from any of them. So
Yeah. So is that a concept that maybe you took home with you? You just the whole vibe of no judgment, take it one day at a time and not so focused on the external, we're more focused on the internal. Did you take that home with you and how did you apply it?
yeah, I think it was very easy for me to take that home with me. And it was also very hard because I associated those feelings with that place and with those
Mm,
people.
okay.
So with me coming back to the US, it's been very hard. I mean, I've been home for maybe a week, and I think I've cried every day pretty much, just like wishing that I was still there. Like, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like I've attached that happiness to that place. So I'm trying to learn how to take what I've learned from there and apply it here in the US, but that's really hard to do, but I'm working on that.
It takes one day at a time. It really does. What does self-love
Yeah.
look like for you?
Um, Showing up in a way that is most authentic to you.
Mm.
So, like self-love for me could look totally different than self-love for you, or even like my husband. It's something that like loving ourselves differently. Like for me, I like to go to the gym, but he feels like it's more of like a chore. So he
Oh,
prefers
got it.
going on a hike. So it's like finding what fulfills you, because if he goes to the gym, like a lot of people would think that's an act of self love, but it's not going to feel like that to him if that's not something that he genuinely loves. So I think finding what makes you feel good and then just running with that.
Yeah. How about healing? Because I know you love that topic as well. What tips would you have for somebody that wants to find their healing? What did your healing journey look like?
Gosh, my healing journey, it's obviously just like any type of progress, it's not linear, so it's up and down all the time. But I think when it comes to healing, something that I've learned from this last trip is I think the key to healing is accountability and looking at
Mm.
yourself. And that's something that I feel like I've been in therapy since I was in like the 8th grade. But I really feel like I wasn't able to make real progress in my therapy sessions until about a year ago, when I finally started to like look at me and look at the labels that I was putting on myself. It was very,
Oh.
very interesting when I went to Thailand for a month. I'm someone who growing up, I was on tons of medication. They labeled me as being bipolar. They told me I was ADHD. I had major depressive disorder and I had anxiety disorder. So and ADHD, like all of these different things. But then I go to Thailand for a month and I feel no depression for 30 days straight. I feel
Mm.
no anxiety. I feel no mood swings, nothing. And it's not like it was a week vacation. Like this was an entire month where I had highs and I had lows while I was there, but it's still, I didn't feel those labels that people have made me feel like I am my entire life. So it was something very interesting for me to learn. So when I started to take accountability of myself, I was like, well, maybe I'm not these things. Maybe I feel these things sometimes, but maybe I am not this label. And now I can look at myself from an outsider's point of view and be like, wow, like you can do this because you are not depression, you are not anxiety, but you can get through when you feel those things.
Yeah, it's one part of a whole as opposed to the one label that again we
Yes.
use so that we can market or understand something better, quote unquote.
Right.
I
And
That drives
it's
me nuts
easy.
when
Yeah,
we do that.
for sure. And it's easy to fall into it as a consumer. It really is. Like, especially when you are feeling down and you're feeling low and you feel like there's no end, like, and you see some marketing ad of something that can maybe help you. Like, I'm sure, it's easy to get swayed.
Always. And it's always the girl in the white flowy dress in this sunflower field. Like it starts off black and white, and then we have this
Absolutely.
young, like, why are they always like that? It's like, man, depression is so much more than just we see things in black and white. And now all of a sudden we're going to put on a pretty white dress and run through a sunflower
Literally.
field. And now we feel better. I'm like,
It's
no,
so
that's not how
funny.
it works. It's just, it's not. What did, if you don't mind sharing, what did depression, ADHD, anxiety, what did all of that look like for you in your situation?
So they all felt and looked a lot different. I think what I realized is that I was labeling myself or feeling like I had all of these issues, but what it really was like deep rooted trauma that I was
Mm,
not attacking. So it was causing all of those emotional effects. So I was depressed like my entire childhood and a lot of my teenager and young adulthood. Like I was depressed, but I don't have to identify with that.
mm,
And I can now understand that like the reasons why I was depressed. You don't just feel that way because you just feel that way. Like sometimes obviously there are people who have who have like those who have that where it's like genetic or a chemical imbalance where you can't exactly control that. But for a lot of people it's not, and I was one of those people where it's really not, and I feel like I was robbed of everything when really it was just deep root trauma that I didn't really work through because I didn't understand that I even had it.
right. So could you say that self-growth looks like accountability? It looks
For
like
sure.
just being objective, acknowledging something as what it is, period, not really getting much deeper than that, and just accepting
Yeah,
what is, and then maybe coming up with a plan moving forward, however that fits best for you.
absolutely. I feel like when it comes to healing or even self growth, like if you're not hurting, like you're not growing. If it doesn't hurt, like growth is hard. It's really
Very.
hard. And I had this expectation of how, like if I just like tried, if I told myself I was on a healing journey, if I told myself I was on a growth journey, that I would do it. But unless you really like dig deep into it and you feel the pain and you feel the highs and you feel the lows and you accept them as they are, it's really the only way that you could truly like really make that growth.
Yeah. So I mean, digging deep, is that the first step to just acknowledging and being objective, really
Oh,
looking
for
at
sure. Because
where the source of
yeah,
things come from?
absolutely. Because once you're able to do that, then you can take accountability. But until you dig deep and find out like why, and like when someone makes me really upset and I start to feel triggered, and like I'll notice like my
Mm.
heart will start racing and like I'll feel a little shaky and I'll feel like I'm gonna faint or like I want to fight. And
Yeah.
I usually run away from that and I would be like, okay, I need space. I need space. And then I just like calm myself down and then I would ignore it. But now when I'm faced with those physical reactions, like I ask myself, like, why are you feeling this way? why is something that someone else is saying to you like affecting you to this point? Like it has to be something deeper. It's me. It's something in me that I haven't addressed.
Yeah, you're describing a lot of kind of you're describing some similarities as to what I went through when my parents split up. Like their divorce got kind of nasty sometimes, and
Yeah.
I had no idea that there were things that were way deeper than my understanding was. And I used to blame some of that on me. I would become their sounding board because I thought that would make things better. And ba 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 ba. And it's like, wait a second,
Right.
that wasn't helping anybody. Like I was people pleasing. I was
Right.
people pleasing and not setting
For
boundaries
sure.
at all. And
Right.
that was exasperating like the anxiety and depression that was already there that I didn't know was there yet. But you make a good point in that, like, okay, I would, and it took therapy to help with this too. Sometimes you just have to look at something as what it was and then put a period there. Once I was able
Right.
to, with the help of a therapist, just realize, okay, my parents' situation was their situation, but I didn't have to take that on. In fact, I should have never taken that on.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
it wasn't anybody's fault. It just was what it was. And
Yeah.
once it was presented to me that way, I was able to let so much go, particularly in the
Yeah.
past. I mean, I still run into, moments where I get anxious and moments where I get
Yeah.
depressed, but those episodes are nowhere near as long as what they used to be. So you're hitting on something I think very important. I know that just to switch gears a little bit, I know you're a podcaster too. So tell me about your podcast.
Yeah, I just started my podcast like a month. I was gonna wait until I got back from my trip, but I told myself like if I don't do it now, I just won't because I've been putting it off for like 3 years. I've been wanting
I've
to
been
do a
there.
podcast. Yeah, and I just like huge imposter syndrome. Like I'm because healing is just like continuous. And so I just keep thinking, like, okay, like when I'm healed, I'll do it. But that's never gonna be like you're never gonna be completely healed. So I just did it and it's pretty much about mental health growth, like the things that I struggle with and just like having chats about it. Yeah. So
Yeah, and I know you're on multiple social media platforms too, not just Instagram, where I found you. How did you muster up the courage to try a bunch of different ones and to keep growing as a creator? Because I'm still kind of struggling, particularly with the TikTok. I'm like, I'm trying it, but and it's not as scary as it first was, but I still feel like I don't quite get it. But I admire you
yeah.
because you're swimming in a bunch of different ponds and you're like, let's go, let's get it.
Oh my gosh, I appreciate that. That's so funny. Um, Ironically, my childhood it's like I've been doing this stuff since I was maybe 12 years old. So I'm 25 now.
Mm,
And
okay.
when I was 12, I would make YouTube videos and I would force all my friends to like lip sing songs with me and I would make music videos.
You were
So
prepared
I
from the beginning.
yeah, and I would always be that girl that wanted to be on camera, like in front of my parents. Like my dad has like camcorder footage of my little brother and he's like trying to show my little brother walking for the first time or something and I'm like dancing in front of the camera and he's like get out like move. So I guess I've just always had this like love to create. If anything, like it took me a while to have the guts to be behind the camera because I'm such a people pleaser and I'm really scared of what I was really scared of what other people would think.
Right.
But I've always kind of been a little weird. So it's like people already think I'm weird. So like why not just do it?
Why
And
the
so
hell
I
not?
would I would make yeah, so I would make YouTube videos and ironically my after high school I wanted to like be a YouTuber because this is when you could finally start making
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
And my parents were so unsupportive of it, specifically my dad. Like he was just like he was always like why are you doing this stupid video stuff? Like it was always stupid to him, which is so ironic now that I make money from it. But um yeah, it was always a really stupid thing to them. So I just continued to do it. And yeah, I grew on Instagram. And then by the time I was already making money on Instagram, TikTok started to become a thing.
Oh,
And
got it.
I was just like, and honestly, something for me was that on Instagram, this is a little embarrassing, but on Instagram, it's like all of my high school friends follow me, all of my husband's family follows me, On TikTok, none of those people follow me. So I really felt like this is an outlet for me that, and hopefully
Oh,
from
I get
after
it.
this they don't come and follow me. But I really felt like it was just like an outlet that like judgment wasn't going to, the judgment that I thought I would have wouldn't even be like an issue. So that's what had me start TikTok, is I didn't tell anyone about it and I just did it.
Well, so maybe you were just afraid of, I don't know, certain people that you were physically around more so than total
Yeah.
strangers. Isn't that funny how that works out?
Oh, for sure. Oh, always. I don't care about the strangers. I do not care about somebody that I will never meet. But, somebody who thinks they have a story about me, or like thinks they know me, is what I mean. Like that's what is scary to me, or was at least.
Yeah, it's hilarious how that happens. Well, what is next for you and what can we look forward to?
This year I'm really trying to focus on the podcast, and I'm actually going to be working on coming out with a membership program for self-development, and I'm going to get my
Hmm.
CPT so that I can do exercise in there as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that and just creating more, and I'm going to move over to more long vlogs on YouTube. So hopefully with adding all of that, just dipping my toes in another social media
Yeah, she's not
platform.
busy. She's not busy at all.
Yeah.
But we love to see it because I think because you're so willing to keep trying, keep doing your thing, keep staying authentic. I mean, your story was really heartwarming about being a little kid and dancing in front of the camera anyway, because you just like being in front of the camera and you like being creative. I was like, that was me in 95, 96, 97. Like my
Oh,
parents still
really?
have that. We're pretty close in age. My parents still have those VHS tapes of me like doing my
Isn't
own
it
little
great?
broadcast. It's so funny. I love watching them back. Like I would do like my own
That's
little
so
newscast
great.
and then I would pan over to my brother who would be like at the front door for the weather or and I
It's so
watched that
funny
back.
because yeah, that's hilarious. And it's like we grow up and we think like, what do we want to be? Like, what do we want to be? And then you look at like little moments of your life and it's like, you always knew. Like you
It was
always
there.
knew. Look at you now. Yeah.
It was there. So just embrace you, boo boo. That's what we're here to do today.
Period.
Period. That's a period. Mic drop. Karissa, that I can't end it on a better note than that. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your nuggets of wisdom.
I really, really appreciate talking to you. This was seriously like the best podcast I've done. Very, very fun.
Whoa! Wow! You heard it here first.
Oh my gosh.